Have you ever noticed the strange pattern where the more strict you try to be with what you eat, the more opportunities show up for you to slip and the less control you actually feel? Like you try to follow the good rules and cut things out like carbs, sugar, fats, and somehow food ends up consuming so much of your headspace that it becomes hard to keep up, and then you're back to square one, wondering why you can't make any progress or if you're just fated to have bad genetics. That's how I was living for years. I used to try a lot of the fad diets, but nothing stuck. It took me 3 years to fix my relationship with food and finally get to the other side of it. And this had nothing to do with discovering the right diet. It was all about adopting the psychology, the right mindset for what I call effortless control. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 6 psychological shifts that fixed my relationship with food so you can start improving yours today without wasting years stuck in restriction and reset cycles. I'll also explain why strict diets can keep you stuck making false starts and why I believe it's possible to have the cake and eat it too. Hi and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Kriti. I'm a data scientist by trade, but I'm obsessed with decoding the psychological frameworks for high performance thinking by choice. This channel is where we talk about the mindset shifts, systems, habits, and strategies that help build inner clarity and take meaningful action towards your goals. Before we go any further, I just wanted to say that this video is not advice for serious eating disorders, and it's also not medical guidance. This is simply my experience on how changing my beliefs, habits, and identity completely reframe my relationship with food and weight loss. Okay, so first let's talk about the 2-part problem that I didn't realize I was stuck in for a very long time. And then we'll move on to the 6 mindset shifts I've made over a period of 3 years. Part 1. Good food versus bad food. For most of my life, I saw 2 categories of food. There was good food and there was bad food. Good food was anything that I thought helped me lose weight, and bad food was anything that made me gain weight. Obviously, foods with butter, flour, fat, high carbs or sugar were definitely bad. Even when I did eat them, I would try to restrict myself to really small amounts, which to be honest was never enough. So I'd go in for a few more servings and then end up feeling really guilty afterwards. Now I see that this wasn't really about how much I ate, but about what I believed it meant. Giving into bad foods meant I lost control. Like I wasn't disciplined enough or strong enough to say no. I realize now that a large part of these beliefs came from information around celebrity fad diets, social media advice, and groupthink around what dieting and healthy eating meant. I also used to try a lot of the fad diets, things like 7-day detoxes, cutting out carbs, boycotting rice, fasting once a week, and so on. And these diets would make me feel lighter after a few days, mainly because I'd have lost water weight, but none of it was sustainable beyond 3 days, obviously. So the problem was how I related to control and consequentially my lack of it. Part 2. Perfection disguised as discipline. The next part is about how I related to discipline. Now, what do we generally think about when we hear the word discipline? Strict, authoritarian rules, right? The trap I kept falling into was believing that if I went off course a couple of times, it just invalidated everything I'd done up to the point. One bad meal meant the whole system was ruined. So I'd quit. Fuck it, it's done now. I'll start again Monday. Now I see that this was basically perfectionism being mistaken for discipline. Again, it's not sustainable because real life is messy. There are social events, cravings, stress, and sometimes there's no easy access to good food. A system or habit that only works when you're perfect is not a real system. It's an idealistic fantasy. So what changed that helped me go from lacking confidence in my habits to seeing more progress than ever before? I'm going to tell you the 6 mindset shifts that changed my relationship with food and show you how they actually unfolded over time in real life. The first mindset shift was about choosing consistency over correctness. I learned this during the pandemic. Fortunately, I had a job that allowed me to work from home and I had no distractions, no excuses. I decided to try and lose weight again. And I'm still operating from the old mindset at this point, by the way. I wanted to go on a diet, so I downloaded a calorie tracking app, set the calorie budget to the most aggressive number possible for rapid weight loss, which was about 1,350 calories. And then I learned to read nutrition labels and measure portions to log them in the app. Day 1 was fine, day 2 was uncomfortable, day 3 I broke. I got myself a big slice of pizza for lunch. Now, this was the deciding moment because it could have gone the way it always had. Like, my old response would have been something like, I failed. What's the point? I can't do this. Or, I just quit. But something different happened this time. I still felt bad about eating pizza, yes, but instead of quitting, I opened the app and saw that I was at 85% of my calorie intake for the day by noon. So I decided to keep dinner super light and stick to the calorie budget in the app. That was the real breakthrough, because the next day I checked the scale and nothing had changed. No damage done. So I kept going. That's it. No punishment, no restart, no dramatic reset. I simply got back on the horse. It was this decision to not quit when I slipped that changed everything for me. That single decision did more for my relationship with food than any diet I'd ever tried. So this is where I first learned that progress comes from consistency and not from perfection. The second shift was about mindful eating. Awareness beats restriction. Once I quit the habit of quitting, I realized something simple but powerful. I could eat anything I wanted to as long as I stayed aware of the calorie intake. Pizza wasn't bad, it just had a cost. So did chocolate and snacks and everything else. All I had to do was read the label and log the cost. So this awareness turned food into a choice, not a threat. I became more mindful about eating through this practice of thinking in proportions. Like, if I eat extra snacks, I eat less carbs for dinner. If I indulge in dessert, I adjust somewhere else. Nothing is forbidden, but everything is accounted for. So tracking calories consistently taught me portion control and that you could enjoy food without guilt. At this point, we were still in the middle of the pandemic, but I was able to go out for walks for about 30 to 45 minutes every day. So I was feeling good mentally and in control. I was full of energy and making progress towards my weight loss goals, even in the middle of all that uncertainty. That's when it became clear to me. Awareness and tracking makes consistency possible and progress sustainable. It's not about extreme control and restriction. We just have to be willing to face and track the cost of our actions. In this case, the cost was the calories in food. It's just like tracking your spending every month. The next shift was being okay with boring consistency. Okay, after all this newfound insight, there comes a point where the consistency or predictability of the routine starts to feel boring. Like you're doing the same thing over and over again, seeing no dramatic change from one day to the next. But you know you have to keep doing it for a long time to see meaningful change and reach your goals. So what's the solution? So this is where my identity had to shift. I had to learn to be okay being the person who just keeps doing the same thing over and over again, measuring food, tracking calories, just walking outside, etc. It helped that there were fewer distractions during the pandemic, but by this point, I'd also seen the scale start to move. I was losing about 1 pound a week without feeling restricted. I had proof now that the calorie deficit was working, and seeing that progress reinforced the behavior. I didn't want to give up. I had no reason to. So it became easier to keep going, to trust the process, and even enjoy small treats every now and then without guilt. So yes, consistency is key. The next thing I did was increasing capacity for activity, also known as burning more than you eat. About 5 months into this whole process, I lost around 8 kilos or 16 pounds just by sticking to a calorie deficit and walking outside. And at that point, it became obvious that 1,350 or 1,400 calories wasn't going to be enough forever, because the body adapts, and after a while, you don't just plateau, you realize you actually need more energy to live your life. Since I'd already laid the groundwork over the past 5 months, I had more energy, so I decided to start eating more and then just doing more activity to balance it out. I started walking more, climbing stairs in my condo, and found ways to stay active at home. That's when the next shift clicked. Losing weight isn't just about eating less. It's about eating right and burning more than you eat. So once the pandemic was over and gyms opened up, I started weight training consistently in 2023. So 3 months into this routine, it became crystal clear. Staying active, strength training, and eating balanced meals increased my energy levels, and I had enough fuel for the entire day. If you have more muscle, you have a higher basal metabolic rate. What that means is, even when you're at rest, you burn a few more calories than you would otherwise. It's all a cycle. The more you move, the more you burn. And the more you burn, the more you're able to move and stay lean. My mindset had shifted by now, and I'm effortlessly in control. I just wanted to keep doing it because of how good it felt. And I actually enjoyed food more because I was moving more, and I saw that it enabled me to do more. And the best part was nothing fell apart. I didn't gain weight even when I indulged a couple of times a week. If anything, as I stayed active, I leaned out even more over the weeks. So I wasn't shrinking my life to fit food rules anymore. I was expanding my life, and food choices fit around that goal naturally. I started trusting myself more with the choices I made, and staying active and eating well had become stress-free. It was just part of my daily routine at that point, a lifestyle. That's a huge reframe. The next shift was looking at food as fuel. Almost a year into weight training and adopting a high protein diet, something changed. Food stopped being something I actively tried to control. I just started seeing it as fuel for life. I noticed that when my meals had protein, vegetables, and carbs, I felt better not just energetically, but it had also become a psychological preference to see a plate with portions of protein, vegetables, and carbs. So having the awareness to eat whole foods and including macros became the default. I wasn't forcing it, it was just a habit and a lifestyle at this point. My mind was clearer and my energy levels started feeling stable. I had more energy for my workouts, and more importantly, my mood also improved. My skin improved. And while these outcomes were super Instagram worthy, the process was quite boring. And that's just how things work. The main shift was that I wasn't forcing myself to make better choices or withholding a lot anymore. I naturally chose better because I remembered how good I felt afterward. And this part matters. Initially, you need discipline and awareness to create good decisions. But after that, feeling good automatically creates good decisions. You learn that a few days off doesn't undo anything. Just like a few good days didn't get you abs overnight. And once you realize that deviating from your baseline isn't catastrophic, it stops feeling risky. And that's what freedom feels like. It's a form of resilience. The trust that you'll be okay and that you'll naturally return to your routine the next day without panic or overcorrection. So Kriti, does that mean that all diets are a scam and I just need to watch what I eat with awareness? Not exactly. Here's why strict diets can keep you stuck. See, the thing about strict diets is that most people are drawn to eating rules because they remove ambiguity. These diets or rules tell you what to eat, when to eat, and what to avoid. And for someone who doesn't know where to begin, that kind of structure feels safe and predictable. But that sense of safety comes at a cost. Most diets don't teach you flexibility, adaptability, or self-regulation, which keeps people from building self-trust and awareness. Because when the rules disappear or life throws something unexpected at you, adaptation doesn't come easily. So building better habits with food has less to do with food rules and more to do with understanding the behavior and the psychology behind it. And this brings me to the core message of the video. Yes, I genuinely believe you can have the cake and eat it too, as long as it's all in moderation. And I say this because I've seen how consistency can create freedom and stability over time. Real freedom comes from being aware so you understand and make choices that are good for you. Being consistent so progress doesn't depend on being perfect. A mindset that supports flexibility, and also having good systems so you're not relying on willpower all the time. I've also talked about 5 psychological shifts that help me turn fitness into a habit that sticks. If you want to watch that video, I'll leave the link in the description below. So yeah, this isn't about building impossible standards. The real goal is to become someone who doesn't need extreme control to feel in control, because their habits, routines, and self-trust are already doing the work. Well, if you take nothing else from this video, take this. The problem is never food. It's the belief that the desired result comes from restriction. But effortless control comes from building self-trust, good habit systems, and becoming the kind of person who can handle flexibility. When you stop fighting yourself, weight loss stops being a battle. And food becomes what it was always meant to be, fuel for a life you're actually living. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel or share it with someone who might need it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.